Hello guys, good day. So a couple of days ago, I released what I like to call the performance release for Transformers PHP, and on the post on X, I made a couple of claims about the performance improvements we've seen. I mentioned the 50% increase. So this test is sort of to demonstrate one of the speed improvements we've seen so far with the version release. I would have loved to use text generation using Tiny Llama or Qwen2, but unfortunately those models are not supported in 0.3.1. So I'm using a pipeline and a model that supports both versions. This Flanty5 model. I think that's the example I did in the documentation. So I set up a very simple test. These two scripts are the same. They live in these two. So there are two PHP projects with two different versions. On 0.3.1 we have this, and for this we have the latest release. Great. So it's very simple. Set up the memory limit, set up the cache directory for the models. So I'm using a similar the same cache directory, so I don't have to duplicate this for the two projects. Then I'm setting that on the setup, and I'm starting up the timeline, passing the model I need. And because I don't want this video to be too boring, I would like to stream the output on the terminal, right? So I don't have to wait for the pipeline to be complete before we see the output. So I'm setting up a streamer, setting up my query, and then passing in the streamer to the pipeline, along with a couple of other generation keywords. The max new tokens to limit the amount of tokens you're going to get. The do sample to make it use multinomial sampler, and then the temperature just to bring a lot of diversity in our output. So I will run for 0.3.1 first, and we see the output. So if I run that, it's going to take some time, but while it's going on, I would like to mention a couple of things. So first, you notice that the output started not fast, but at least it's considerably faster compared to the output or the speed now. So what's happening is that as the output gets longer, it takes more time to run the model. Now, if you inspect this further, you see that it's as a result of the whole conversion because the pipeline here was the input is converted from a PHP array to a tensor. I do a couple of calculations, and then the tensor is passed to the inference session. It's converted to a PHP array. The array is converted to an Onyx tensor. Then when we get an output from the Onyx tensor, we go back to a PHP array. From the PHP array, we go back to a tensor, and even that tensor is still a PHP backed tensor, just like it's using SPL fixed array. So that whole stuff brought about this. It means that the bigger the output, or rather the bigger the context, the more time it takes. So the new update solves this, and of course it invariably solves the memory usage. So if you take a look at this place, you see that this memory limit here is 1 gig, unlike here where we have 256 megabytes, right? So 256 here doesn't mean it's going to actually hit it, but I like to set my memory limit in terms of 2. Right, so naturally, yes, it's going to exceed memory limits, especially for larger models. This is a 783 million parameter model, so it's naturally going to exceed that limit. The limit naturally for PHP, or rather my installation, is 128 megabytes. This is too small for some models. Good, so we are done, and I mean it took a lot of time, 91 or rather 92 seconds on average, and it took a memory of 370 megabytes and a peak memory of 564 megabytes. So that was why I set the 1 gig. Normally I set 512 and it didn't go through. Good. So let's go over to the new baby in town. If I run the test once more. Okay. I mean, look at it go. I mean, I'm so proud of this, by the way. Good. So it took just over 8 seconds. A memory usage of 62 megabytes and the peak memory usage of 138 megabytes, right? So if I run this again, I can run it a couple of times and it's super fast, right? Of course, it's not the fastest. I mean, it's not the fastest for me. I hope to still optimize this further, but this is a significant improvement from what we saw over here. So yeah, my claim of 50% improvement was underselling the improvements we just saw now. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. If you are still on the version 0.3.1, please upgrade to the latest version. One caveat is that it's not so compatible with 0.3.1. There are a lot of changes in terms of the structure of the project, and in terms of the libraries needed to run the project. Then if you have not used the project at all, I mean, this is a good time to test the project. I'm open to receiving your issues. I'm open to peer requests. I'm open to contributions of any kind. So thank you so much for watching. See you.